Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome everyone. Welcome to Unity of Los Cruces. We are so grateful you are with us this morning. A few housekeeping things. If you would turn off your cell phones or put it on airplane service or whatever that is, so it doesn't interrupt during meditation and so forth, we would be grateful. Also, you will find near and about you, if you're in the sanctuary, a clipboard with prayer request forms. If you would like someone to pray with you, please fill one out, and you can put them in the prayer box back by the resource information, or you can put it in the offering plate when that goes around during the offering time. In the resource area, we have the new calendars for May, so you can pick one of those up. We also have some other information about Unity of Las Cruces and Unity Worldwide Ministries and unity.org. Additionally, we have the new Unity magazines and daily words. So if you're interested in having one of those publications, there's another little box over there where you can put your donations in for the magazine or the daily word. Thank you again for joining us. Unity in Las Cruces, good morning, where God is good all the time and all are welcome, safe, and loved. And our opening prayer and invocation this morning is going to be done by our prayer chaplain, Kay Brilliant.
Good morning and welcome to Unity of Las Cruces on this beautiful, beautiful spring day. Please join me in the opening prayer. I draw breath. So pleasant. And we gather together today in fellowship and harmony and community. And our purpose is to be reminded of what we know already as the truth. The essence of us is God as good all the time. And as I awoke this morning, I thought how wonderful it is to have spring, the time of renewal. The plants are blooming and growing, and the grass is turning green. Even the cactus, in their most desertish way, are beautiful. I am as those plants. My opportunity for renewal is all the time. I have total and complete control over my day. I choose joy. I choose renewal. I choose this time to be together in spirit with God and with you. And so it is. Amen. And our invocation, please. I am now in the presence of pure being and immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. I acknowledge thy presence and thy power, O blessed Spirit. In thy divine wisdom, now erase my mortal limitations, and from thy pure substance of love, bring into manifestation my world according to thy perfect law. And so it is. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Kay. Thank you. That just lifts me up. I am grateful for everyone. And now I'm very grateful to introduce Reverend Helen Wright with our this morning's spiritual reading.
Good morning. So our spiritual reading, inspirational reading this morning is mostly, there's two short ones. The first is from Marianne Williamson, And our theme today is being free to be ourselves, our authentic selves. And you probably have heard this before. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And another quote about freedom says, "Of the many freedoms people enjoy and hold dear, the freedom to be yourself is held in the highest regard. The freedom to express oneself authentically is critically important to happiness and personal well-being, both at work and at home."
Thank you, Reverend Helen. Thank you. All right. Reverend Helen will be back later to give her talk on I Am Free to Be Me. What a good reminder for us to remember that. Thank you. And a meditation. We are joined by our musical director, Barry Shaw, and our special music this morning, Doug Adamz. Thank you, Doug, for being here. And now we have good news. Texas lists 2 critical pollinator flowers as endangered species, practically guaranteeing milkweed recovery. The reason this caught my eye was that Reverend Helen was talking to us just a couple weeks ago about milkweed being very important for the sustainability of monarch butterflies. So the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has taken steps to practically guarantee the survival of a beautiful pink wildflower in Texas just a month after it did the same for prostate milkweed, a key food source for monarch butterflies. It's easy enough to tell people they can't shoot bald eagles, but it takes serious effort to tell people what they can and can't do on their land as it relates to plants. But that's so pretty. It's an invasive species, but it's so pretty. Nevertheless, the Fish and Wildlife Service has turned to the world's most successful piece of conservation legislation on Earth, the United States Endangered Species Act, in order to guarantee that hikers and browsing bees alike can enjoy the flowers of these plants for generations to come. The bracted twist flower has been diminishing due to Texas urban sprawl for years, but now 1,600 acres in the 4 counties of Uvalde, Medina, Bexar, and Travis have been designated as critical habitat and therefore untouchable. Very few busy Texans in the world today pause to think about these plants, but they still play an absolutely essential role in our world. Michael J. Robinson, a senior conservation advocate of the Center for Biological Diversity, told Texas Tribune. Found in the hill country, now only in 2 areas, the twist flower needs a mix of shade and sun provided by the natural mix of trees there, such as live oaks and junipers. It's a common food source for Texas bee species. By being placed on the endangered species list, the twist flower is almost guaranteed to survive, since the rate at which species declines has been stopped after being placed on the ESL is 99%, the highest of any such national conservation program worldwide. This protection was also doled out to the prostate milkweed, which receives 661 acres of critical habitat protection. It is illegal to cut, damage, harvest, or transport either flower under federal law. Well done, well done. Thank you very much, and thank you for putting that together. It didn't look as nice when I sent it to you. Thank you so much, Ken. Thank you. Good news, good news. Yes, our whole world supporting it in one way or another. And that moves us into gratitude and thanksgiving. We, all of us at Unity of Las Cruces, are grateful for all of you who enliven our church. Our prayer chaplains, Kay Brilliant and Kathy Stice, and our board of trustees who serves Unity of Las Cruces with their time and talent, and they support the ministry team, Reverend Helen and myself. We're so grateful for all of that. These pieces all individually come together to create what is Unity of Las Cruces as it grows and prospers and supports its community and friends and family. We are grateful for our musicians. We are grateful for Jane Ray, who does our social media, and Ken Warner, who does our audio-visual. We are so grateful for all of those things. That energy comes together with love and givingness, and it is what helps Unity of Las Cruces grow and prosper. So we thank you all for raising the vibrations of this universe through your prayers, affirmations, and visualizations, and for allowing the love, light, and healing to flow through you to all. And now it is time for our daily word reading with Dave Adie.
Thank you, Reverend Jennifer. Thank you. Yes, today's daily word. Free. The affirmation, I am one with the freeing, guiding force of God. Pretty powerful. When I think of freedom, I imagine a bird in flight, soaring above the earth. As the bird glides, it seems to effortlessly move through the air. Then it flaps its wings, moving upward and forward against the force of gravity. Likewise, I open my mind and heart and feel the freeing force of God within. This force is powerful and peaceful, and I give myself over to it. As I do, I overcome stifling feelings of stress or doubt. I trust in God, and I move forward and upward with renewed purpose and confidence. Just as a bird overcomes gravity to fly with purpose, I overcome the challenges and circumstances of my life to find my purpose and live from my divine nature. I am free. And from Hebrews 13, verse 6, so we can say with confidence, the Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can anyone do to me? And so it is. On this Sunday, May 7th.
Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you, thank you. We are grateful for your service. You do such a wonderful job with the daily word. And now it's time for our congregational song, our May congregational song. I've got Peace Like a River, and we sang it last week, and it's going to be, and we're going to do all the verses this week, yeah? Yay!
Well, I killed the last verse because you guys didn't do it last week.
Ah, okay. Well, then we'll stop whenever the words stop on the thing.
Okay.
So, okay.
All right.
All right. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. Well done. Yay. We're going to have our choir members anytime now, aren't we, Barry? Yes, he's looking, he said already. Okay. Let's see, we've got that done, and now it's time for an affirmation? Yes. Unity Principle 4. If you'll say that together with me, please. Through prayer and meditation, we align our heart, mind with God. Denials and affirmations are tools we use. That's wonderful. Always remembering what our principles are. All right, and now it is time for our Sunday talk and meditation with Reverend Helen Wright. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
So our daily word this morning, talking about freedom and giving us that image of the bird in flight, soaring above the earth, and soaring ever upward and upward against the force of gravity. And it made me think about us as human beings. How does this compare with our own evolutionary journey as a human being? And how do we move up to those higher levels of consciousness? And we heard in the daily word that phrase that we overcome stifling feelings of stress and doubt. And I thought again, stress and doubt and other stressful feelings, that they are born in a perceived separation from the divine, from God, which is not our truth. I was then reflecting on that just as a bird overcomes gravity to fly with purpose, I overcome the challenges and circumstances of my life to find my purpose and live from my divine nature. And in doing so, I am free. So it was those ideas of freedom and overcoming and the power of God in our lives that is our true freedom. And again, in those inspirational words from Marianne Williamson, that as we're liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So working on ourselves, our own consciousness, adds to the collective consciousness of that freedom to be our authentic selves. And we'll see him later on, but Oscar Wilde once said, "Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken." And that's so true. I often admire people. I admire the qualities of other people, and often might hear myself saying, "Oh, I wish I could do that like so-and-so." And that's fine. It's fine to be aspirational about the qualities, but again, it's fine to come home to self, our true, authentic self. And I was exploring 3 key components to our authentic self, authenticity, and the freedom that allows us to be our true self. And what came to me was knowing yourself is one of those components. Being yourself is another of those components. And then once we've got that figured out, who are we and how to be ourselves, then sharing our true essence out in the community, out with the world. So that's our journey through these 3 components. So first, we have a slide. The first slide is, I just love the slide of the child in the grass. That was me as a child. I was always out in nature. So we start to form, who are we? We start to form that quite early on with the terrible twos where children can have tantrums as they're self-differentiating from parents and wanting to be myself. But moving on from that, know thyself. Socrates said that. The first step in being true to ourselves is to know ourselves. And I've kept seeing this. Sometimes these messages keep dropping off bookshelves and hitting you on the head or showing up in a Facebook feed. And this concept of know yourself and to your own self be true, I think that's a foundational part of being ourselves, that we need to know who we truly are. And the quality of awareness, self-awareness, is key. Is a key process in how we come to know ourselves. Have you ever had the experience of feeling like a round peg in a square hole, or a square peg in a round hole? It takes work, trying to be something that we're not true, that we aren't truly are, that isn't our true self. Really takes a lot of work and effort. Isn't necessarily the most joyful way of living our life. And I hear that phrase that we're spiritual beings having a physical experience. But are we, consciously? I don't doubt that we're spiritual beings. We are spiritual beings in this physical form. How much of being true are we embracing our true spiritual self, our spiritual practice, with God as that guiding energy? And then what about the experience of the physical experience? How much are we really embracing a physical form, physical experience, and using that as its vehicle to express our divinity through every single aspect of this physical realm, our physical body? The divine in all, the divine, that saying in unity, there is no spot where God is not. And then looking at our physical experience, we might often say, if we, in our careers, in our work, oh, I'm a musician, I'm a physical therapist, I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm a child. Those are just names and labels. What does that have to do with our true spiritual essence? I mean, it's true that we take on those roles. I could take on a role of being in victim consciousness if I wish to have that experience. I'm trying to do that less and less. I could take on a role of, I want to experience victor consciousness. Yeah, that's fine. But then comes vessel consciousness. I am being a clear channel and a vessel for spirit to flow through me. That's getting a little bit more towards my authentic self of that spiritual being having a physical experience. And then there's verity or truth consciousness, where we are standing in our essential essence. We're standing and living from that spiritual essence within the Christ consciousness. So I look at the fact that we are spiritual beings in evolution. We are growing in consciousness. We grow, we change, we move forward. And churches, same thing. Churches are evolving. Church might not continue to look like church. It already is changing and moving and growing. But just looking at this concept of evolving, of transformation, of not staying stuck in one place or one perspective or one expression, but looking at that evolutionary impulse. So I love the monarch butterflies, and they're going to show up today as well. The monarch butterflies are such a symbol of transformation. And I love it where the caterpillar from the egg goes through 5 different stages, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the 5th stage is where it's munch, 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 munch. Got to get the food, got to get the energy for what comes ahead. And that divine intelligence that guides that process, that the 5th instar caterpillar will crawl up onto a leaf or crawl up onto a cage, and it's restless, it moves around, and that's a step to show that it's ready to start making that transformation. It weaves a little cotton button and puts part of itself, one end of itself, attaches to the leaf or the cage or wherever that caterpillar is growing. And then in the greatest statement for me, the greatest inspiration of letting go and letting God, it lets go the other end, its head end, and its head end goes down. An incredible sort of faith in that divine process. It then goes into a J form, and then the chrysalis forms around that J. And in the chrysalis, it then begins to completely melt down. It becomes like a primordial soup. And what's left of the caterpillar are several imaginal cells. And I love the word imaginal cells, imagining. And those are the cells that create the monarch butterfly. So I often would grieve the fact of that 5th instar, because when it went into J-up, I would never see it again once it went into chrysalis. I would never see it again in that form. So I would grieve it, but I'd celebrate it because it was becoming who it was destined to be. It was becoming from something that would creep and crawl and go around the ground. It was becoming that beautiful being with flight. And so I'd grieve and I'd celebrate. And I celebrate that metamorphosis, that change of form. But its life energy continues. Its essence, its true self continues. And so I see that in our lives too, in my own life, that we may grieve our former selves. We may grieve part of what we're letting go as part of our own evolution. And yet we can also celebrate that who we're becoming in our true self. So have you ever experienced a time when you feel like you might be dissolving and melting down and changing? Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, had a name for that. It's called chemicalization, where the whole body is feeling different. Might be feeling restless, like that caterpillar, but something is changing within. And so who are we becoming as we evolve as human beings? And what does our next evolutionary stage look like? Some people call it, instead of Homo sapiens, Homo universalis. We're becoming one with the universe. What will that look like? And sometimes I imagine, okay, maybe I can fly. Well, or maybe I'll just become translucent as a light body. What do we look like as we evolve? And then I also know that if we are in this process of evolving and evolution, then from our human side, if we want to, let's more comfortable, let's just maintain the status quo. Maybe we think we can, but we're called to evolve spiritually. So this awareness is Who am I? Knowing myself, knowing ourselves in our spiritual and our human essence. Who am I? What has my history brought me to? What are the areas that I might be sensitive to or triggered by that other people would not? It's all part of our unique expression. So from knowing ourselves, we can move into being ourselves. And that freedom to be our authentic self, it takes a lot of courage. It involves risk. It involves speaking truth. And we might be at times in groups, crowds, situations where we go, maybe it's not too safe to speak my truth here. So I think there's quite a lot of overcoming, like in the Daily Word, a lot of overcoming that we may need to do in order to be truly able to express our true self, being ourself. There may be things that drag us down in our day-to-day lives. There may be things only in thought and form that we feel are limiting us. There may be this experience of going through grief as we let go those old versions of ourselves. And sometimes as we change in consciousness, we might find that friends fall away. People are no longer in that consciousness of our former self. And that can be okay. There can be the grieving, there can be sadness, but that can be okay too, as we want to grow in consciousness. As we release addictions, going through that process of overcoming addictions and having the one power and presence as our guiding light. Again, people who were in our own community, in our social community, those that may have been supporting our addictions, they may fall away as we step forward in this evolutionary journey, this courage, our courageous self, where we want to be ourselves and be free. So sometimes it takes a lot of overcoming and a lot of releasing. A story that came to mind recently was I used to work in physiotherapy in the UK, and at one point I worked in mental health as a physical therapist. And we had a patient who physically was able to walk. Physically, there was no problem in her physical body, and yet, through her mental illness, she had felt disabled. She had taken up life living from a wheelchair when there wasn't actually a physical need for that wheelchair. And as part of all of the welfare in the UK, she got a house because she couldn't work. She was in a wheelchair. She got her food paid for. She had a lot of financial benefits. And so to come to a choice of healing and evolution, she had to choose to give up all of those benefits that she had. And I worked with her. I worked with her with another physical therapist. And her passion had been judo. And at that point, it's hard to remember that aspect of my former self. My former self also liked judo until I got thrown badly and broke my collarbone. Then I didn't like it so much. But as a physical therapist, we opened up the opportunity of her involving some judo that she used to love with me on mats with other people. And from that point on, she thought, okay, I can get back to judo. I can release this wheelchair. So it was, again, a sort of journey of healing and overcoming. And there's a lot of, I think, socialization that might try and keep us stuck at times. In the socialized world, we can get shamed, blamed, the culture, into not being our true self. And I was thinking, am I being my true self right here, right now, in this moment? And I smiled because supposing I showed up in shorts and, I don't know, a bikini top and flip-flops for a Sunday morning service. How would I feel, and how would everyone else feel, and how would I feel about whatever you're feeling? And many of us loved it when we could attend church on Zoom And so we were attending church in our pajamas, or at least our pajama bottoms and things, and the liberation that many people liked with doing that. And yet, maybe now we're back in person, maybe not so much. I see everyone here is dressed fully. So when Oscar Wilde said, "Be yourself, everyone else is taken," I love that. I love that because the only way to be free is truly to be me. The only way for each of us to be free is to be truly ourselves. And even that isn't necessarily simple. We do have a slide. And I love the monarch butterfly in the driver's seat, showing his driver's license as a killer, and saying, "It's an old photo." You know, so even when we look at our own driver's licenses, do we go, "Oh my goodness me, did I look like that? Who was I back then?" And even more so with passport photos that last 10 years, we can look back and go, "Who was I?" You know, when I look at those photos. So being ourself is stepping into our new self as we grow, as we change with life experiences. And as we embrace the fact that we are divine energy in evolution. Shakespeare has that there's a famous speech in his story, As You Like It, and it's the 7 ages of man, where he says, "All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players." And so I look at our life as if we are the players in this great big sort of stage of the earth, of the world, and we're all the players. And I've read recently about some movie stars who commented on certain roles that they played where they were superb in that role, and yet they said, "I will never play that role again." The role may have been disturbing or, truthful to life stories, but you know, we have the choice. We're like the actors in our own play. If we don't like the role that we're playing, we can change our thoughts, change our mind, and change the world. We can become a new reinvention of ourselves. And my vision has always been an enlightened humanity. And I love that vision and that promise. One of my favorite Bible verses is a little bit obscure. It's Habakkuk 2, verse 3. And he says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and shall not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not be late." And for me that speaks about the whole process to Unity Ministry ordination, but it speaks to life and our goal of being here to evolve, to create more and express more of God's light. And Habakkuk talks about embracing and folding and struggling. He talks about the vision as from the viewpoint of God as foundation, God as source. He talks about waiting, and then that's the stage where we may be waiting on God, listening, going within to listen to the voice of God as to what is our next step, what is the next manifestation of this vision on a global and on a personal level. So we move from knowing ourselves, being ourselves, into sharing ourselves authentically in the world. And we have a slide. And I love this slide because it's children becoming airborne. We talked about the birds becoming airborne and overcoming gravity. Well, children, I think, are in their true zeal and their true expression when they're jumping, evolving, being able to be their self and be supported as their self. And yet we all have a need to belong, one of these deep needs that we need to feel that we belong. So that now I have another slide, and this would be the lion. And I love this where it says, "The greatest fear in the world is the opinion of others. Often we hear that the greatest fear might be public speaking. But he's suggesting that Osho is suggesting that it is. Greatest fear is the opinion of others. And therefore, alongside of that is that fear of others, is therefore there is a fear in becoming our true self in expression. So the moment you are unafraid of the crowd, you are no longer a sheep. You become a lion, and I think about the lion of God. You're a lion, and a great roar arises in your heart, and the roar of freedom. So there is work to do when we notice that we can't easily be ourselves in certain groups. We know that this need to belong is part of our self-worth, our self-esteem. And I hear all of these myths, and I feel like I'm in that chrysalis phase with consciousness, and I am challenging all of my former beliefs. And it might seem to others like I'm a 2-year-old exploring my world at times, and I often say that I need those L plates on my back maybe. In the UK, when you're learning to drive, you have to put big L plates on the car, that everyone else around you knows, hey, folks, I'm learning a new skill here. And I kind of feel I need L plates when I'm stepping into more of this authenticity and more of this truth-telling, because the truth-telling is not from the ego. It's not from the, I want what I want and I want it now, and I want the world to look like this. It's not from the I want ego. It's stepping into more spiritual power through the guidance of Spirit, of God. So there's always this question of, what do I share? Who do I share? Who am I if I'm not feeling accepted? There's a myth out, and I consider this as an education myth, of taking exams, final exams, and I'm not being specific, just any exams. There's for the student, the advice is give them what they want, give the teacher what they want. And I'm going, nah, don't feel like it. I'm going, I feel like speaking truth. So I'm just nudging and knocking on the doors of opening up belief systems. There's another one, fake it till you make it. And I'm going, faking it doesn't feel real good. It might be applicable in some situations, and yet growing in evolution and being authentic feels like a better message. There's a quote from Upton Sinclair. He was an American writer and activist. And he said, it's difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on him not understanding. So there are many social situations where it is challenging. It takes overcoming to be true to oneself. So we have another slide, and I love this slide. Yes, I do want to be the yellow tulip that has the courage to grow and flourish, even though I might be in a whole row of purple tulips or red tulips. And our affirmation from the daily word is, I am one with the freeing, guiding force of God. And I am, and that is true. And in that, I can be that yellow tulip. Each one of us can be the yellow tulip, or whatever colour we want, in the midst of a whole symphony of other colours, of tulips, of flowers, of beings. So we'll keep that slide up as we prepare for meditation. So as we just feel ourselves supported on the chair, on the floor, on the earth, we can just become again fully present, breathing into our beautiful vessel, our physical form, our divine form. And as we settle deeper within, we turn up the volume on our awareness, our self-awareness of our inner landscape, our inner energy, spirit, the divine within. And from our heart, the heart space, we connect and commune with that divine intelligence. And being in the presence of the divine, we may ask, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I as an individualized creation of God? An individualized aspect of spirit. And in our connection, our communion with spirit, with God, with divine intelligence, we may ask another question. Who am I being called to be? What is my next step in this evolution, this expansion of consciousness? And then we can drop into that deep state of spiritual knowing, one with the divine, where we know ourselves. We know ourselves truly as a spiritual being, truly as a being here, in physical form and evolving, growing in spirit. We may ask another question if we choose. How do I be me? How do I be myself? How do I grow into an authentic self in all situations? And what may need to be released? And then we may ask, how do I share my true essence with the world, with others, in love and peace and harmony and joy? We can take these questions into meditation anytime we choose. We can take this affirmation into meditation. I am one with the freeing, guiding force of God. And so with this, we gently bring our awareness back to the room, this space, this place, this here and now. And playfully we may ask, how do I be that yellow tulip? What's the best expression of my authentic self? Thank you. And now we move into special music with Doug. We're in for a treat.
I recently heard the song that it was so beautiful. It was in Spanish, but it was so beautiful that I sought it out and listened to it again and again. And I could understand enough of the words that I thought this might be something nice for unity. So I got the lyrics, I got a translation, and I think I was right. Let me read you the words. Before I sing it, I'd like to read you the words in English. It's called Pajarito Colibri by Natalia Lafourcade. And it's about a hummingbird. That's a Pajarito Colibri is a hummingbird. And you know, little hummingbird, some of them fly in their migrations 5,000 miles in a year, 2,500 miles each way. And talk about overcoming gravity. They can do that because they're masters of catching the currents of the wind. Little hummingbird, don't be afraid to leave. Today, the world wants you to wake up and be happy. Little hummingbird, don't be afraid to live. May the night, dark and mysterious, dance for you. When you feel the infinity of the world open before your wings inside your chest, you lose your breath. Ask the sky to make you fly. And if you feel vertigo on your flight that ignites the fire in your movement, ask of the universe in your entire being for sweet freedom. Everything is going to be all right, little hummingbird. You don't have to be afraid to live. Everything is going to be all right, little hummingbird. You arrived in the world to be happy. Today, the valleys, forests, and mountains want to see you go. Today, trails, seas, and clouds will watch over you. And if from love you walk around sobbing, unable to sleep, just sing, break open your throat. It's time to go.
no tengas miedo de vivir, todo va a estar bien. Pajarito colibrí, llegaste al mundo para ser feliz. Hoy los valles, bosques y montañas quieren verte ir. Hoy senderos, mares y las nubes velarán por ti. Si de amores andas sollozando sin poder dormir, solo canta, quiebra la garganta, es hora de partir. Cuando sientes que infinito el mundo se abrande tu pecho, se abrande tus alas dentro de tu pecho, pierdas el aliento, gireas sin cielo, que te hagas volar. Y si sientes vértigo en el fuego, que se enciende el fuego dentro de tu pecho, pide al universo en tu ser entero dulce libertad. Todo va a estar bien. Pajarito colibrí, ya no tengas miedo de vivir, todo va a estar bien. Pajarito colibrí, llegaste al mundo para ser feliz. Bien, ya no tengo miedo de vivir, todo va a estar bien. Pajarito colibrí, tú llegaste al mundo para ser feliz.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And
Lovely.
thanks to Kim
Lovely.
for the translation.
Mission.
on this-
Yes,
on this
yes.
tape.
Butterflies and hummingbirds and being free. I am free to be me. And now we will say our prayer for faith. We'll say that together. God is my help in every need. God does my every hunger feed. God dwells within me, guides my way through every moment, night and day. I now am wise, I now am true, patient, kind, and loving too. All things I am, can do, and be through Christ the truth that is in me. God is my health, I can't be sick. God is my strength, unfailing quick. God is my all, I know no fear. For God and love and truth are here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now it is time for our tithe. The recipient this week, Unity of New Braunfels. As you recall, that is Reverend Gary's church, and Reverend Gary is Reverend Helen's mentor minister. And so, we will have our prosperity affirmation. Come on up here. Yeah, sit down. You think your job is done or something? So say together, please. Father God, divine spirit, we're so grateful for these blessings, these gifts that come from the heart, come from love. And we know that as we give with a true and free heart, that those tithes go out from us and return to us in tenfold. And we know that these gifts from Unity of Las Cruces are sent to Unity of New Braunfels with love and light as they go out from Unity of New Braunfels out into the world, the universe, and beyond. And that love and that light energy is returned back to us. And we embrace this love, this light, these gifts, this abundance from us out into the world. And we are grateful. Amen. Ooh, announcements. All right. Let's see, I'm up next Sunday. Next Sunday is also Mother's Day. So I invite you to bring your mom, or if you're a mom, bring your kids, or bring a picture of your mothers. We're going to have a special table. We're going to do this, aren't we? Okay, we're going to have a special table with a cloth up here, and it's going to have some flowers. So I invite you, please bring a picture of your moms, your grandmas, your motherly animal that represents some mother figure in your life, and share that with us. It will be a wonderful thing for a Mother's Day Sunday. Oh, all right, and let's see, this coming Friday, we have Unity office hours, nothing really special. But if you want to see Reverend Helen or myself, please come down. Or if you want to pick up a daily word or a magazine or a calendar, that's the time to do it. We'll be here from 10 to noon. And, all right.
Yeah, we'll hit everything else.
Yep. Metaphysical book study. Next Tuesday. This past Tuesday, we didn't have it. We're back on track. Tuesday, 9:30, practical metaphysics. We're having a good time. And the daily word was Reverend Helen and myself on Zoom. On the calendars, the back of the calendars this month, we have all the Zoom information for these things. So if you take that home and you can't find the email or whatever, look on the back and zoom in. Meditation and healing service for May is canceled. We've got some other things going on that's conflicting with that, so it'll start back up in June. And the second Friday, so we'll have our Power of Healing principles, and starting at 10:30 till noon this Friday. Okay, and is there something else? We did have some people, from the town hall. If you wanted a hard copy of the financials that Dorothy presented last week, they're over there by the calendar. Thank you very much, Dorothy, for that wonderful presentation. We appreciate that very, very much. And also that, I thought there was something else, but it left me. That's all right. Okay. So thank you all so very much. We'll sing our prayer for protection and the peace song. Yay! Oh, that's what I was going to say. I apologize. You can stand up. Just thank you, everybody. We had people who came in to help get ready for service and put out the prayer request forms and that kind of stuff, and we're very grateful for you. Thank you very much, and some bring in the refreshments. So thank you all.
Thank